Hello, everybody! Welcome to what is going to be my Brigandine Grand Edition guide. Brigandine, very, very different game than what I normally play. I would say it's got a lot of RPG aspects to it, but it is more of a, I guess I would just call it a strategy based game. I guess I don't know where it actually really falls into as far as category. But one thing that's kind of interesting, or a couple of things, the game. I actually the first time I ever played the game, it was actually for on PlayStation, and that was just the regular Brigandine title. Obviously, the only for or that version on PlayStation didn't have a lot of what the Grand Edition has. If maybe that's obvious just from the added Grand Edition. But the Grand Edition here I did find online, and I got I think like a patch, an English patch. If I remember correctly, the Grand Edition was never made like in English. So it can be tough to get a hold of. And the patch is not perfect. It's pretty decent, but not perfect. There's a lot of interesting things that you'll notice, especially if you've already played the PlayStation version of this game. That is, there's some errors I would say in this version with specifically like unit. What would it be? Unit like breath attacks. Normally, a breath attack is there should be a highlighted area on the ground, and unfortunately, you won't be able to see that in this, as well as some just issues, some similar issues with target ranges and stuff like that. So again, not perfect. This specifically this patch anyway. Now at the beginning of the game, there you get to choose which empire you want to play as. I know in the PlayStation version, if you want to play as Gary's empire, you have to enter in a code at the title screen. I don't remember what that one is right off the top of my head. Very easy to find though online. And Gary's is a decent empire. I don't know if I would say that they're technically the quote unquote bad guys of this, although here the way that the title, or I guess introduction of the game kind of rolls out, it may seem that way. Here I'm actually going to speak over this dialogue. It's not great, for a lack of a better. Better description. Again, so the game was originally, or this version was, I think, done in Japanese, and so with the patch that I found, there's actually English voice acting. Really cool that somebody was able to, or a group of people, put this all together. Very, very neat, especially in a game, that I loved from when I was a kid. I don't remember exactly how old I was when I, picked up the original Brigandine game there for PlayStation, but I thought that, over the years I pick it up every once in a while and play it again, and to come across the Grand Edition, and then on top of that, like an English translation, it was really cool. There's a lot of other things that kind of go along with the Grand Edition, specifically units. There's some new units that are not in the original, as well as like I would almost say like some just upgrades over some of the old ones that they weren't an option in the original game. So very cool, decent additions to the game. Other than that, there's some new characters, which also kind of cool. I should say new Rune Knights that that were not available in the original. Anyways, let's get to we'll get to some more of that a little bit later. But as far as storyline, man, there is not much. I will be completely honest. So if you're looking for a game that's got like a fantastic storyline, keep looking. This is not it. It's kind of interesting, and I would argue that this game has got a bit of replay value just for the simple fact that you get to choose between, what is it, like 5 different empires right away, and then the 5 different empires have different starting characters, or sorry, I should say different starting knights. And so those are the major, as well as, actually I should say, the just different regions of the overworld map that they occupy. So I am picking Leonia. I would just say that Leonia's got a lot of I don't even know if I can really say that. I was going to say a lot of like knights that have really good growth potential. I suppose that's probably true. Although I don't know, I would almost say that every region has that, or every empire has that aspect of a lot of characters that are or will get really good as you progress. So that being said, though, I would say that of all the rulers, I like Leonia the best, or Leonia's ruler the best, which her name is Lioness, or Lioness, or something like that. The reason why I would argue that she is so good, now granted she starts really low level, she's like, I think level 3 right at the beginning, but the fact that she's got Holy Word is a very, very powerful area of effect type spell, and she can only cast it once, maybe twice at the beginning of the game. But as you level up, you'll be able to cast it even more, and it's devastating if you time it out well and catch enough of the enemy units in it. So what I'm actually doing here at the beginning of the game is I'm summoning. If you notice here, I just summoned an angel. I don't know if that was really honestly that great of a move, I guess, right off the bat. Reason being, for one thing, angels are extremely expensive, and then their upkeep cost is expensive as well. So there's the initial cost of like summoning a monster. If you notice there, I had 91 mana, and then what is this? This is like a Djinn, I think it's called. Yeah, Djinn, and I think they cost 120 mana to summon. Yeah. So the Mandrake there has got 140 mana. If you notice there, it gave me a little error that said my mana is drained. I'll talk a bit more about the units, I think, during our first battle. But so what I'm actually doing here is I kind of set up kind of similar when I start playing the game. And my original intent here is to not use actually all of these Rune Knights that I've got right now. There's one guy, Paternus or something like that. He's really high level. He's got a really decent amount of rune power as well. So rune power is the measurement of the kind of like the amount of units that you can kind of haul along with you. So to break things down, you've got leaders and then you've got monsters. The leaders are the Rune Knights themselves. You can't have like leaders together. Like you can't put a leader under another leader's leadership. That sounds kind of goofy, but basically every time you go into battle, you take 3 Rune Knights with that can actually, I should say, that can actually participate in the battle, and then you take those or the 3 Rune Knights then obviously get a certain amount of monsters. Now, the way that all works out is, if you notice there, that there's what's called the rune power, and that's kind of just your pool. I don't know if I would say it's the most important aspect of a Rune Knight, but it's a pretty big deal. Obviously, the more rune power you have, the more powerful and just quantity of monsters that you can haul along with you. If you notice here, I'm moving most of my characters to the same castle, down to the south in Hadrian. And I'll talk about that here in a little bit. But then I move Paternus to a different castle. If you notice there, it's called Gloom. And Gloom's got you can summon dragons at Gloom, and dragons are insanely powerful. The reason why I do that is because unfortunately you can't just summon whatever monster you want from wherever. So that's one kind of crummy thing. So if you want to use dragons, which I highly recommend, they're insanely good frontline fighters. They've got a ton of HP, and then eventually, I should say they even do start with breath attacks. Breath attacks are extremely, extremely powerful in this game. Again, that's kind of what I'm doing there. I'm moving Sophia and Philo here. I actually like those two knights. They're again a really good, or they're both really good examples of lower level knights that have really good growth potential, in my opinion. But if you notice there, both of them started out as clerics, and they were experts already they were, I guess, clerical experts. Sorry about that. I had to make a little cut there, coughing my brains out. But anyway, so yeah, Sophia and Philo. If you notice that, I went into the organize, and then I go to this little button here. It's basically a class change button, and I made them both into the female version of casters, which is, I think, is it the sorceress right away? I might have that name wrong. But here I don't know what I ended. I guess we're gonna find out what I ended up doing with Isfis. But this guy is a monk, and he's already a master. And the way that the game works and handles the kind of, I guess I would call them promotions or class promotions, is that you need to gain 5 levels in a class to become an expert. And as you level up as those classes, depending on what the class is, you'll get bonuses to certain stats, like a ranger, for instance. If you level up as a ranger, you get, strength ups as well as, like agility or something like that, I think. Don't quote me on those specific stats because I don't remember it at the top of my head. But if you level up as that class, you'll gain specific stats. And then on top of that, once you've leveled 5 times in that class, you'll become an expert. And that's actually tracked by little stars over the character's head. If you look now, he has 0 stars. And then as Chantel here had, he was already an expert pyromancer. And then here you can see Ryzen's got the 1 star already on monk. That means he's gained 1 level as a monk. I'm not sure. Okay, it looks like I am going to decide to change classes as Ryzen. I'm not sure. To be honest, I don't really use Ryzen that much. I don't think he's a very good knight. He's already level 11, and he's got really low, 160 rune power, so that is not good at all. So I probably will not be using him much. Chantel, on the other hand, he's okay, or he's at least better. And if you notice here, I'm doing a lot of saving. That's because, all right, so the first few turns, there is a character that you can obtain, but you have to be quick about it. And it can be difficult to do because there's a certain amount of randomness to obtaining this first character. So the idea is you have to be the first character. By the way, the character's name is like Schultlius or something like that. I'm butchering that, I'm sure, horribly. But if you're the first empire to take a castle away from Asgari's empire, he joins you. So that is easier or more difficult based on what empire you choose. Leonia actually might be the toughest empire to be able to take a castle from Asgari's. And the reason for that is just because you start farther away. None of our castles are adjacent to an Asgari's castle. So that means that you have to fight your way to Asgari's and then beat Asgari's and take that castle from them. Now, I made that happen. It took... I had to completely reset and load an old save because another one of the empires just happened to fight their way to Asgary's and take a castle from them first. So, I think maybe Karlan might be the only other empire that doesn't start with a castle directly adjacent to Asgary's right at the beginning of the game. I could be wrong on that, though. It's been a very long time since I've actually played as Karlan, and they may not start adjacent anyway. They might have to do the same thing, and that is fight their way. I would say it's probably through the orange. What's the orange empire? Oh my gosh, no, I'm not going to remember the name of that empire. Sorry. Anyways, so they might have to do the same thing that Leona does. Now, so here we've got a little bit of dialogue between, and hopefully I'm saying his name right, Vaynard. Vaynard is the leader of Norgard. There we go. I at least remembered that one. Norgard is the blue. I guess you could just call them like the blue flags on the map. Norgard is extremely large. They've got a lot of knights there. They start out with a lot of knights right away. Leonia, I would say Leonia starts with actually very few knights, to be honest. New Almechia is the red empire. They're on the very, very far, it would be the west, I guess, of the map. You're probably not, especially if you start out as Leonia, because you start on the east side, and we're pretty well guarded from everybody else. So you're not going to be running into New Almechia anytime soon. Same kind of, actually, Karlan is kind of the same way as well. Kind of. Although I would argue that they're much more close than New Almechia is. And then Asgary's is kind of like, plop right dead in the center of the map. So the chances that you're going to be running into them, and I am going to go out of my way to get a hold of them. All right, so here's my second turn now. I actually didn't fight during my first turn because I wanted Kilaf. I don't know. I think that's his name. Kilaf. I wanted him as well as Lioness. And then I'm not sure who I used as my third knight. I wanted them to kind of be my, I don't know, aggressors? Maybe I should say that. Yeah, maybe that's a good one to go with. Reason being, they make Lioness and Kilaf are really good knights. They're extremely powerful. They make a pretty good team. I think Chantel is who I ended up. Yeah, I think he's my third knight that I end up using here. And all right, so we're going to attack again whoever the orange guys are. I don't know why I'm having such a problem remembering their name. It'll come to me eventually, I'm sure. But anyways, all right. So this is the goal here is to make it through these guys, to crush them down, and then we will be in position for the next turn to take a castle from Asgary's. So here we've got a little bit of dialogue between Kilaf, I should say Kilaf. I think that's closer to the... Yeah, Kilaf. That's what it looks like to me. Anyways, a little bit of dialogue between him and Camden. Camden's basically says, I don't want a world where everything's fair. He's like, yeah, I realized that Lioness would be a great leader, and she would probably bring that mentality about, but he's like, I don't want that. So, okay. Hey, that's fine. So we're gonna do some battle here. All right, so as far as starting units, again, I would say actually Leonia has some kind of crummy units to start with. The Holy Griffin, I don't know, they're interesting. So we'll just talk about what they've got as far as units. Excuse me. The Holy Griffin, again, it's kind of a mixed bag. I kind of like them, kind of don't. The one reason why they're actually really good is they're kind of like archers, where they can attack from a little bit of a range, but it's not that great and it's not that far. And like their HP is okay, their agility is okay. I would argue that their claim to fame is that their enemy units will kind of miss on them a lot because of their high agility. The other thing is they've got really good mobility, but the way I play is kind of maybe it's different, maybe it's not. But I use more of I almost want to call it like a turtle type strategy, where I kind of just keep all my units clumped up together so that they can protect each other, and thus I don't get, or I won't get, kind of caught out, which is pretty bad for your units if that was to happen to them. Reason being, if they're not able to be protected, and if you notice here, all of these units basically work on a six-sided shape, and or all the blocks that you kind of move around on are all six-sided, and that's really important to know because again, like if you just have your one of your units kind of out in the middle of nowhere, they're gonna be attacked multiple ways, and that can be a real big problem. Reason being, obviously, then if you just leave them out in the open, then they can be attacked from multiple sides. And again, so that's a pretty major problem. Now, the probably big difference that you need to know about the units in this is the human units or the Rune Knights can never die. They literally never die. If they're defeated in battle, they will be returned to wherever your leader is at, and then they'll have to wait like, I think it's a full month, and then they'll recover. So that's every once in a while having your leader die isn't, or one of your leaders die isn't the worst thing, or sorry, one of your Rune Knights die isn't the worst thing ever. But the other thing that you have to know is that when they die, all of their troops go along with them, and that's if, and some of your troops can actually be left behind, which is a major issue, or can be a major issue. Generally, if you're playing smart, that's not going to happen. But if you notice, like that, the computers move there where they just bum rushed my front line with one of their Rune Knights, that was a horrible idea. And then on top of that, it's just a priest. So the AI in this game isn't always very good. I would argue that the AI, though, in the Grand Edition seems better to me. In the PlayStation version, it seemed really bad. It just really bad. Like they just did weird stuff all the time. But it does, again, seem like, anyway, the Grand Edition does a little bit better of a job. So here I'm actually just saving my game in battle. That can be useful to a certain extent. Yeah, I don't know. There's times where, like, if you've got a really clinch move that you need to make, unfortunately sometimes some like attacks and stuff can miss. And if you notice there, especially with the Grand Edition, or I think actually it's only the Grand Edition, it'll actually tell you your percentages of success when you're trying to use some of these abilities. Magic, I think, always succeeds, period. Other than, there are certain spells that won't, like silence. If you're trying to cast silence on an enemy, there's a chance that it won't work. So there are some exceptions to that rule, but generally, like if you're trying to do damage, those spells will always work. Like Divine Ray never misses. And then this should really do a ton of damage to this guy. So this is if you notice here, you can see the little dots underneath the level of the units, and those are the elemental properties. Generally, white, and I don't remember the percentages, but like if your character is like a white innate and then if the skill that they're using is like a white innate skill, and you're going up against something that's got like that's like a black innate, it's going to do extra damage. Same deal if it's red and blue, and then what is it? Green. I don't remember how green works with the rest. Yeah, because there's red, blue, black, white. Yeah, I don't know if there's a sixth one. I can't think of it right off the top of my head. So I don't remember how. And I have to apologize on that. I don't remember how the green affects anything else. I just totally drawn a blank on that one. But anyways, so that's somewhat important, I would say. So it's, you generally don't want to, if you're, I guess the good thing about Leonia is you've got a lot of priests right off the bat that have a lot of powerful white innate magic, and so you don't want to stack those up against, or I should say, it's really good to stack those up against black innate, monsters and knights. Kador comes to mind. Kador is I think he's got 2 black dots and then maybe a red, or he might be all 3 black dots. I can't remember. But he's a really good character to go up against Leonia, or it's good to have a lot of good Leonia knights up against him because he's so easy to take down. He's got a ton of health, but like a couple of divine rays just work him over big time. So here I've already taken out the what was that guy, the Gigas or whatever that was, and here I want to keep everybody topped off or kill off topped off here with the expectation that he might be taking a little bit of damage here. If you notice there, Camden moved in kind of close, so now he's in a good range to do some damage with his AoE skills. Although now look, he just used, I don't know what that was. It only did 84 damage on my Phoenix. But yeah, I guess I can talk a little bit more about some of the units. The Phoenix that you start out with with Leonia is interesting. I'm actually not that big of a fan because they don't have very much offensive capability. Yeah, they're kind of a goofy unit. The good thing about them is they've got regeneration. So they make insanely good frontline fighters. So they can absorb a lot of damage, and then just every turn they're going to heal a little bit of health. I don't remember. I think I'm getting somewhere in the 50s with that unit right now, so pretty decent. Then they do have an ability called like Soothing Voice or something like that, or Heal Voice. Again, I guess it probably depends on what version you're playing. But that's an interesting ability as well. It basically is just a gigantic AoE heal. The only problem with it is it doesn't differentiate between your units and enemy units. So, in this case, it might actually, I don't know, I guess if I'd argue that it would do more harm than good because, well, yeah, I guess it could. If your units aren't missing any health and then you use it, you could potentially just be helping out the enemy. So, be careful with that one. And that's another one of the reasons why I don't really like the Phoenix. The Phoenix is actually the upgraded version of the Rock, which I would argue is a fantastic unit. Those are, I don't believe I have any. Yeah, I don't have. Yeah, I'm pretty sure. Pretty sure I don't have. I definitely don't have any in this particular battle. There, I just crushed Ulster. So, by taking him out, and then one of their units didn't make it away. Now I'm going to check here. Okay, so if you notice there, Killuff's at, he's got 246 experience to go, and he's an expert in, what is he, a barbarian or whatever? I'm going to get 200 experience on the dot just for winning. You always get 200 experience at the end of a battle if you win. So it's actually really dangerous right now because I don't want to, I would call it, waste any levels with him. And what I mean by that is now that he's an expert, I want to change to a different class. so I can get working on a different kind of skill set. So I actually don't want him being attacked, and I don't want him attacking anyone else for the rest of this round, and I think that worked out perfectly. So I guess just keep that in mind. That was my goal, and I think what I wanted to do with him was change him to a what is it? Is it the? It's not the grappler. It's the ranger. I think it's called. It's basically the. Yeah. Anyways, that's what I wanted to change him to. But all right. So anyways, back to units here. I was talking about the rock. Maybe once I actually get to a rock, I'll have to try to bring that up again, or this topic up again. The reason why I like the rock so much is that I don't particularly care about their mobility, although they are very mobile. They've got a decent amount of health, but their attacks can cause or turn your enemies to stone, which is insanely good. So when you turn an enemy to stone, the only way to heal it, I believe, if I'm remembering this correctly, is with a spell. And so any character turned to stone will remain stone either until they're healed or until the battle is just completely over. So it can take enemy units out for the rest of a battle, basically, which is insanely useful. And then like if you go up and attack an enemy that's got the solid, I think it's called solid, or that's the status name. If you attack an enemy that's got that, yeah, they do get one benefit, and that's that their defense goes up, but they can't retaliate. So you can just, knock around a stoned enemy until they die without facing any sort of retaliation. So that is why the rocks, I believe, are so good. I don't like the upgraded Phoenix. The problem with the Phoenix is it loses that capability, which is probably, I'd argue, the one thing about the Phoenix that stinks the most. So keep that in mind. Here I've got, so what else do I have here? I've got a Mandrake in battle. Mandrakes are also really good. The one thing with the Mandrake, or their biggest weakness, is their defense power. They just get hit really, really hard because of that. The good thing is they've got a ton of health, but they're another interesting unit in that they can actually cause paralysis to enemies, which is similar to stone. The major difference is paralysis can wear off, and then on top of that, paralysis does not give a defense bonus. So pretty interesting status though, nonetheless. And that also you can attack a paralyzed unit and not face retaliation. So pretty interesting. The giants, if you notice there, and it happened actually to me earlier, the giants in the Grand Edition have an ability called Stun, and that basically makes it so that for one, you can attack them one more time and they won't be able to retaliate. As well, and I'm not sure how long stun lasts if you don't attack that unit. I just don't remember. But another kind of interesting status effect, I would not say that stun is anywhere near as good as some of the rest, but it's just kind of one of those cool things that when it happens, it's awesome. That being said, all right, so here is a breath attack. Nope, I was completely wrong. I thought that dragon was going to use a breath attack, and it probably should have. But there, now Camden is retreating. Now that they've lost, they lost a ton of units there, and just basically had to get out of there, because I would have just kept crushing them. So that's it. So that's the first successful battle. Now, it's really unfortunate, though, if you'll notice, one of the first things that happens here is New Almekia takes this castle from Asgaris, and that's what made me reset my game. So I had to go completely back, redo a bunch of the battles, or completely redo that battle, and so that's what you're seeing now. So I took a cut there, again, after reloading my game, and actually I think what I did there was I changed some of my knights to doing like different quests or something like that. Little things like that can change the way the RNG kind of works. And there, if you noticed, New Almechia attacked a different castle, but as Gary's defended it, and that was the key to, or that was exactly what I needed to happen. So here I've got actually just some, these are just generic quests. So, and I actually forgot to mention this earlier, but if you've got knights that you don't want to fight, I would highly recommend sending them off to do quests. Quests are extremely useful. You can get more knights that way, and some really, really useful. Some of the best knights in the game, I'll be honest, are from or acquired by questing. This is Gallowin and I forget her name, Baleen, sorry. So these are two knights that you just automatically get as Leonia on your, what will this end up being, the second day or something like that, or second month. So there's different knights, and they're acquired in different ways. I'll bring that up a bit, probably more in there. Oh, well, I got a little bit of time here. So there's basically quest knights, and those are the knights that you get, obviously, by questing. That probably makes sense. Those quest knights are only available from certain dates, though. So, like, right at the beginning of the game, there are certain knights that you just can't get right away by questing. They won't be available until later. Same with then, there's these storyline knights, I guess is what I would call them. And those are knights that just appear during certain months and during certain years. Gallowin and Baleen, being the two examples of those. And then on top of that, there's like special knights that are kind of the same deal, where only specific empires can obtain them. And I'll talk about that more once we can actually get those. But anyways, I'm out of time, so as always, hope this guide was helpful, and hope you join me for more videos. Thanks for watching.